So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the Tories' sexist attacks on Angela Rayner. This stuff is absolutely disgusting, to be honest with you. I don't know if this video will get demonetized by YouTube, so support the channel on Patreon if you can, and if you can't, just like the video. This stuff here is disgusting. There's a lot to talk about here, honestly. They say Tories accuse Rayner of basic instinct ploy to distract Johnson at PMQs. MPs claim Labour deputy leader likes to put PM off his stride by crossing and uncrossing her legs at PMQs. It's disgusting, honestly. They would come out with statements like this. Tory MPs, more than one. We're not going to find out which specific MPs have said this, but this is ridiculous. I'm going to blur out some of the imagery here as well. Definitely need to deal with this sidebar. All is fair in love and war and Commons duels with Boris Johnson if the claims of Tory MPs are to be believed. Tories have claimed that Labour deputy leader Angela Rayner likes to put Johnson off his stride in the chamber by crossing and uncrossing her legs when they clash at Prime Minister's questions. I mean, first of all, the Prime Minister shouldn't even be paying attention to Rayner because he's meant to address the Speaker, who is typically on the left side of Johnson, and Rayner's on the right side of Johnson. So I despair at this stuff, honestly. The exchanges between Rayner and Johnson, which take place when Leader Starmer is absent, have become a highlight of the Commons calendar, pitching the comprehensive school-educated Labour MP against the old Etonian. And there is a lot of classism in this article as well. Tory MPs have mischievously suggested that Rayner likes to distract the PM when he is at the dispatch box by deploying a full-clothed parliamentary equivalent of Sharon Stone's infamous scene in the 1992 film Basic Instinct, which apparently she didn't even know was filmed. So yeah. It suggested that Rayner also employs the tactic when sitting next to Starmer when he faces Johnson at PMQs. One MP said she knows she can't compete with Johnson's Oxford Union debate training, but she has other skills which he lacks. I mean, first of all, have you seen Boris Johnson in a debate? He's not very good. That's for sure. The amount of classism coming off this is ridiculous as well. Boris Johnson's Oxford Union debating skills. Why? Because she went to a comprehensive school. She can't debate as good as Boris Johnson, honestly. She has admitted as much when enjoying drinks with us on the Commons terrace. Now, first of all, I don't believe she does drink with these guys in the Commons terrace, and if she does, she really needs to find some new friends in Parliament, because these are the things that these Tory MPs are saying about her. MPs, Labour MPs should not be just going around chatting with Tory MPs like this. It's disgraceful, honestly. After what these guys and gals have done to the country, you should not be jolly buddy with them. Last night, a spokesman for Rayner described the allegations as categorically untrue. Rayner described the allegations as Rayner, a socialist grandmother who left school at 16 while pregnant and with no qualifications before becoming a care worker, has frequently landed blows on the Prime Minister during sparky and flirty exchanges. And, these people, you can tell, the ones who say this, get no action. You can tell if they think these exchanges are flirty, because if that is the case, then you guys must think Starmer flirts with Johnson and Johnson flirts back with Starmer, and everyone who debates in the House of Commons must do it as well. It's just ridiculous. Boris Johnson said, "We all know what job she wants," talking about the Prime Ministerial job. You notice in that picture above, which I'm not going to go back over, that's not a picture of the House of Commons, so it's very strange they put that picture in there. Rayner hit back, saying, "I've heard on the grapevine there might be a vacancy for Prime Minister soon, so maybe I should show aspiration." Yeah, very, very flirty. Yeah. Miss Stone's claimed the scene in which she uncrossed her legs was filmed without her knowledge, which shows you there are problems within Hollywood at the time, and there still is, really, when you look at it. A Labour source said, "Just when you think the Conservative Party can't get any lower, they outdo themselves. The Conservatives clearly have a problem with women in public life," a spokesman for Rayner said last night. "I'm telling you categorically it's untrue, and to be fair, it most likely, I reckon it's untrue." And I saw this story, it's Jess Phillips that originally tweeted about it, and I tried to figure out what she was talking about. She goes, "Jesus, this Angela Rayner at PMQ story is a genuine new low. Women sometimes move, we are not mannequins. If women moving puts off the Prime Minister, maybe don't mention that while also painting him as a great war leader. Our enemies will simply employ some women to shimmy. What the F?" I mean, this man's ripe for a honey trap, honestly. You've got Kate McCann from Sky News Oh, sorry, she did work for Sky News. She works for Talk TV now, apparently. Saying that you see all of those female MPs and journalists tweeting their rage at this story. It's because nearly every single one of us has experienced something like this in the course of doing our jobs, often repeatedly, and we're utterly sick of it. That's what Kate McCann said, and to be fair, I'm not surprised they're sick of it. To be honest, it's disgusting. Jess Phillips again saying this sexist stuff being said in the papers about Rayner comes on the same day this story has this misogynistic culture changed? Not one bit. One thing always leads to another. So you got 3 cabinet ministers face misconduct claims. You've got 3 cabinet ministers face misconduct claims. Cabinet ministers and 2 shadow cabinet ministers are facing allegations. So it's not just the Tory party, it's some in Labour as well, which shows you how bad the problems are facing allegations of misconduct after being reported to the parliamentary watchdog set up in the wake of the Me Too scandal. And there are problems in Parliament with power dynamics, etc. There are among 56 MPs who have been referred to the Independent Complaints and Grievance Scheme, the ICGS. That will get mentioned a lot in this article. Over about 70 separate complaints. The allegations involving 56 include making inappropriate comments and more serious wrongdoing. At least one complaint is believed to involve criminality and concerns an allegation that an MP bribed a member of staff in return for favours. I mean, this is ridiculous, honestly. The disclosures come weeks after Imran Ahmed Khan, a Conservative MP, resigned following his conviction for assaulting a 15-year-old boy. In 2008, another Conservative MP, David Warburton, has the whip suspended this month after it was revealed he was under investigation for alleged harassment. The complaints are being assessed by the ICGS. Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the Commons, is concerned by the number of complaints and is preparing to launch a review of working practices in Parliament. MPs employ their own staff directly and deal with human resource problems themselves, meaning it can be difficult for employees to challenge inappropriate behaviour in the workplace. They should set up more mechanisms for people to put in complaints if people think complaints are necessary. One of Warburton's alleged victims worked for him and his office manager was his wife. So how can you go to his office manager's wife and say, like, your husband has harassed me? Like, that's wrong. No one should have their relatives working for them when they're MPs. The ICGS was set up in 2018 in the wake of Pest Minister scandal, which I remember. This is about a load of MPs who were accused of harassment, essentially. Charlie Hickey, I think his wife is an MP. I think she might be the MP for Dover. I'm not sure. I think that's her anyways. Can't pronounce the second name. And Stephen Crabb were among the MPs who faced allegations of impropriety. Fallon resigned as a minister over a string of sleaze allegations. Eplick was jailed for 2 years after being convicted of 3 charges of assault, which doesn't seem long enough considering there were 3 charges and he got 2 years. It's ridiculous. Dave Penman, the General Secretary of the FDA union, which represents civil servants, said, while some of the procedures for raising complaints have improved, the fundamental balance of power between MPs and the staff they employ are not. There should be more avenues for unions to get involved in this as well. Anyone who works in Parliament should be in a union, honestly. Parliamentary authorities need to address the fundamental cause of bullying and harassment. It's typically men who see themselves as irresistible, to be honest with you, or believe themselves to have dominion over women. That means it's time to look again at the employment relationship between MPs and staff who support them, which is true. Things need to be looked at. Caroline Noakes, the Conservative MP who chairs the Women and Equalities Committee, said, I've long been concerned the ICGS would not deliver all we wanted it to, and there is still a pervasive culture of misogyny, harassment and unacceptable behaviour that is all too prevalent at Westminster. Last week, the Procedure Committee described not to go ahead with the inquiry into banning MPs of misconduct from the parliamentary estate. So a committee decided not to go ahead with an inquiry into banning MPs accused of harassment. Now, Karen Bradley says the difficulty maintaining the confidentiality of investigations where such a mechanism be introduced, but insisted we share the commitment shown by Speaker. What you can do in this situation is you go directly to the MP who's been accused, say you have been credibly accused of misconduct, you will be banned, temporarily suspended from Parliament, It's not going to go public because it's just an accusation for now. You have been suspended. The only people who should know about this are the leader of the party and the whip's office. Be suspended, should not be allowed to go to Westminster, should not be allowed to go back into their office or whatever, unless it's deal with constituency issues. And until the issue is resolved, they should not be. The suspension should not be lifted. A government spokesperson said, "We take all allegations seriously." Blah 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 blah. That's a load of nonsense from the government as always. You've got Caroline Noakes, who has tried to get the press credentials from the Mail's from the writer of the article, Glenn Owen, to get his press credentials revoked, his parliamentary lobby pass essentially. So he won't be able to go in there as a journalist by the looks of it. So Caroline Noakes has already done this. The argument that this dude's a decent chap, the writer, so this is from Martin Waller saying, regarding Angela Rayner, I used to work with Glenn Owen, the the Mail on Sunday writer, decent enough chap. This is how the Mail works. They pay you an awful lot of money and now you have to write something like this. And the simple fact is, no journalist should be told what they can and cannot write unless it's a lawyer saying it for for actual security reasons or for libelistic reasons. That's it. No editor should have that much control over it. And the argument he's a decent chap, if he was a decent chap, he would have resigned from the Mail on Sunday if they tried to force him to write such an article. So yeah, it's a joke, honestly. People trying to defend, these journalists trying to defend each other. Not all of them are. It's mainly the dudes that are. But the decent defence chap. Classic defence for men who subject women to hate and abuse. You've got Joe McEwen, again, this is another image I'll probably blur out, saying 6 years ago the Mail ran another Sharon Stone Basic Instinct story about Lucy Fraser MP. The condemnation this time around it is heartening. It does show there is progress, even if not at the Mail. So this is the Mail writing a similar story about this. They said, forget about Brexit, let's talk about Lexit, when they talked about Theresa May and Nicola Sturgeon, which again is gross, to be honest. You've got Nadine Dorries, who cut and pasted a Boris Johnson tweet. So if you look at the Boris Johnson tweet first, saying, as much as I disagree with Angela Rayner on almost every political issue, I respect her as a parliamentarian and deplore the misogyny directed at her. So that was at 11:07, 24th of the 4th, 2022. Then you've got Nadine Dorries, who cut and pasted this for some reason. So it made me think, first, was it CCHQ, Conservative Party headquarters, that made them do this? And now I wonder, is it just Nadine Dorries not being very bright? Her saying, as much as I disagree with Angela Rayner on almost every political issue, I respect her as a parliamentarian and deplore the misogyny directed at her anonymously today. So she tweeted this about 20 minutes later. It's just really bizarre, to be honest. It feels like CCHQ maybe got them to tweet this out. Boris Johnson said he's going to be on the lookout for the person who put this, who gave these press briefings, and hopefully he is. I doubt it. We go to probably the weirdest aspect of this, which is this Tory MP trying to defend Dean Dorries. This is phenomenal.
Our viewers, that which the Prime Minister tweeted in response to the article, and when you read the words, they are pretty strong. As much as I disagree.
So we're gonna hear a cut and paste job, which is, can I copy your homework? Yeah, just change it a bit, and she forgot to do that.
Agree with Angela Rayner on almost every political issue. I respect her as a parliamentarian and deplore the misogyny directed at her anonymously today. Very, very strong, you would say. And then we saw this from Nadine Dorries. As much as I disagree with the exact same tweet. What's going on here?
Well, I mean, they share the same view. They're colleagues in government.
They share the same view to the word.
Yeah, I mean, look, Nadine is my boss, and she feels very strongly about...
I will not criticise my boss, because that's how I get fired.
The place of women in politics, and that this sort of abuse is unacceptable. I'm sure she'll have discussed it with the Prime Minister. They'll have reached the same view, and they've used the same
in the space of 20 minutes.
Words. There's nothing surprising that two colleagues in government have exactly the same view and use the same words.
There is nothing surprising about two human beings sitting down at a keyboard and tapping out exactly the same sentence construction.
They've got the same view on this issue.
Honestly, you're trying to maintain that the Culture Secretary didn't copy and paste this.
Well,
This wasn't something that was sent to her. These aren't her own words. They're clearly not her own words because they were said by the Prime Minister 15 minutes before.
Look, I mean, I've heard Nadine talk about this kind of issue in private quite a lot. And I can tell you the sentiments being expressed there are sentiments I've heard her express countless times over the last 9 months that I've worked with her. So it doesn't surprise me at all that she's expressing herself so strongly, but nor does it surprise me that she and the Prime Minister are saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's a cut and paste job. I reckon it could be from CCHQ, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know what more to say on this one apart from this is just it's ridiculous. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. If I see any stupid comments, you'll get banned with a swiftness. But yeah, hopefully I'll see you next time.